live. A few minutes late. I literally just went straight from filming my Quentin Tarantino ranking to this. I transitioned only to put all my stuff up to be able to go live, grab a new non-sugar water, potty break, and wanted to be live with you guys to talk movies way too much with my wonderful Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for tuning in. And while I wait for some people to join the chat, so the thing on this week to discuss, little editorial. So I was accepted to Rotten Tomatoes a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Just found out. Very new thing to me. Very cool. Very exciting. But I never received an email telling me I was invited. So that was kind of a mystery. So I have some connection, or one connection, Rachel, my friend, who's might be on here too. And so used her connection to contact someone at Rotten Tomatoes, like, figure out what's kind of going on here. And kind of had some kind of back and forth with me of like, hey, I mean, we've interacted with you already. What are you talking about that you haven't received our emails? It was like, I haven't received your emails. Like, and I started thinking, am I going crazy? Is this is this kind of like what happens when you get older and you start like forgetting that you responded to an email because it was late at night, or was I on sleep medicine or something like that and just forgot what happened? I was actually a little bit of worried that, like, is that a thing that just happened, that I responded to an email and totally forgot about something really important? No, that's not what happened. Someone created an email account, Sean Chandler talks about it, gmail.com, and applied to Rotten Tomatoes for me. I've applied to Rotten Tomatoes on my own. That wasn't accepted. But this fake person applied as me, and they accepted the person applying as me, and they got onto the website. And they interacted back and forth as me, and it's not like they could post their own reviews. It's all linked to my channel. So it's all my actual stuff. But it wasn't me. Like, someone fraudulently applied for me to Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of a weird thing to have happen. But it's sorted out now. It's almost all figured out. So pretty exciting stuff. All right, we got some people showing up, and Bear F, can you rank every movie ever? No, of course not. Machiavellian Comics, hey Sean, hey. Road to Dawn, sup Sean, hey. Bear F, it's a joke. Well, I sure hope so, because that's a lot of movies, and so I'd hope you'd be aware that I would not be able to do that, because the inherent nature of that would be impossible. But I do my best to do as many rankings as I can, but the more movies that have to be viewed to do a ranking, the less I can do of other rankings. So try and span out when I do my big, gigantic rankings. I can only do so many of those so that I can do more week-to-week rankings. And it's also the reason that I do stuff, like even some of the stuff where I update rankings and why I do character rankings for certain franchises. The franchises that I spend the most time diving into, Marvel stuff, like that provides me the most content. I spend the most time watching movies for the Marvel videos, so I produce the most content related to it. It's the most popular. It's like it's all kind of tied together as to why I do all of that. But people are like, hey, why don't you do every character and everything for like this other franchise? Well, I just haven't put as much time into it to be able to do that. So it's all kind of this system of being able to have the time to watch the movies, talk about them, take the notes. And certain ones I watch kind of like just kind of a single straightforward watch. Other ones I watch quite in depth to try and talk about them better. But the one I did today, Quentin Tarantino, I watched all these movies twice in preparation for this. Not all of them, but almost all of them I watched twice because I watched them about a year ago, wrote my first set of notes, and then I watched them starting about a month ago, watched through them and wrote even more notes to try and have things to say. So anyway. Have you heard about the Birds of Prey and Joker leaks? No, I guess not. I don't know what you're referring to. I mean, I know that they've been, Birds of Prey movie is coming. I heard talk about Joker, but I don't know what specific leaks you're talking about. I don't kind of run in the rumor mill. I don't want to have movies spoiled for me. If they don't put it in the marketing, I don't really want to know because they don't want me to know. So please don't spoil things for me or put ideas in my head based off of leaks. I just don't. That's not the stuff that I follow. Mr. Comics, what are you most fearful for the future of your channel? Fearful? What am I most fearful about for the future of my channel? I think it's a little bit of the kind of the unknown side of things. There's it's kind of tough to talk about some of this. stuff because it inherently kind of comes off whiny. And so it's one of the reasons creators don't kind of talk about some of the full-time creators don't want to talk about some of these things, because on the one hand, I know that I'm living the dream of my peers, that I got to be the one that got to go full-time. I get to do this. And so when you start my fears, I get burned out. My fears that I'll run out of ideas, that it'll become just work and the joy. Like you say that and people are like, what are you talking about? Like you get the dream. Well, how could that ever happen? Well, you don't know when you're going to get burned out, because you're like, oh man, I got to make this work. I got to make money. You don't know when the market's going to slow down. You don't know when YouTube's going to change on you. And so then you kind of get in these grinds and just go, 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 go. You don't turn off. You work 7 days a week. And then eventually you can find yourself at a place where you get burned out. So that's kind of the fears, like that unknown, like, is that going to happen? Because I can push. And then you go so long and you're like, wait, why am I even doing this? Do I even care about it? And I wonder with some kind of creators that are, I don't know, there's Patreon I'm not doing too public with, but like John Flickinger is one that, he's been around for about 10 years now, and he doesn't post very much. For a couple of years now, he does not post very many videos at all, like 2 reviews per month. I think on his main channel, he just had a 2-month gap between reviews that he did. I think his last one was like John Wick 3 or something like that. And I think he just posted Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And a lot of people look at it like, what are you, crazy? Like, you're living the dream. You have an audience. They want to watch your reviews. All you have to do is once a week do a movie review and be happy. You're taking 2 months off. What's going on? And I don't know him. I don't know him at all, but I could see a scenario. So this is all speculations. That's why I wouldn't normally I wouldn't do this on a normal live stream. I wouldn't want to talk about someone, but you could find yourself just getting burned of like, you're just watching movies turns into work. And that is what my job is. Watching movies is work. As I was watching Booksmart, a movie I watched yesterday, like I was thinking like, all right, what notes do I need to write down for when I do a video about this? Because I'm not going to do a video immediately, so I need to make sure I write notes down for whenever I do talk about it. So there's a lot of things like that's the fear for me. There's a little bit of a fear of YouTube because YouTube's unreliable, but I think I'm a good enough business person. I have enough savvy. I have enough streams of income that if YouTube kind of goes off the cliff, I could figure something out. That I kind of went in with a nice savings to have a nice security blanket. This first 6 months, this month will be, what are we in the 7th month? And I've been doing this 6 months now. Wow. I should probably do a video about that. Like, I've been full-time 6 months. That's crazy. Wow, this is it's a fun year for me. But I had a plan to do all of this, and it's worked thus far to kind of build a nice savings, because it'll slow down in a couple months. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but the fear of the future, the unknown, when I'm going to burn out, when the things are going to change, that sort of stuff is kind of the biggest fear. So many questions. Road to Dawn, what are your thoughts on The Big Lebowski? Fun little Coen Brothers comedy. Some people are just bonkers about it and just think it's the best thing ever. I'm not in that camp. It's very quotable, very fun, memorable characters. I don't tend to be someone that's like super into stoner acid trip movies. That's not exactly my thing. So I can enjoy them on the level of, it's fun to see Nihilist and Jesus the Bowler and stuff like that. And, our Lebowskis, the Nihilists. That's all fun, but it's not that next level for me of like best ever. Road to Dawn. Do you think they will ever remake Pixar movies? I hope they don't. I mean, that seems to be the future of what Disney will have to do, because they're going to run out of Disney Renaissance movies, and then what's next? Dumbo didn't work. Like Pete's Dragon wasn't a big hit. So what are they going to do? They're going to mine what is as popular as these Disney Renaissance films, the Pixar filmography. In which case, then you get down the road 5 years, 10 years from now. All right, so 5 years from now, if they greenlight a Toy Story remake, Toy Story's 30 years old. 30 years doing a remake 30 years later doesn't seem that crazy. I mean, I'm not recommending this. I'm not saying I like it, but it's in line with their current strategy. A week ago, Lion King opened to 185 million. It's not even getting good reviews. 185 million. Aladdin, people thought it looked terrible from the marketing with the genie and everything. Just crossed $1 billion. Disney, Like the nostalgia sells. People buy tickets for the nostalgia. They're easy to market. Even marketing them poorly, they still make a ton of money. Rich reviews. Going to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood tomorrow with my parents. Review tomorrow night. Fun, fun, fun. Rich reviews. How live streams. Wow, live. Rich reviews. Wow, live stream up early today. Is it? Oh, did I? Okay. Is this early? Are they normally 2:00? Like I mean, sometimes I just get so turned around in my own world. Do I not do these at 1:00? I guess I should know that since I'm the one that does them every week. But I literally was like rushed to get it up at 1:00 because I was like, oh, 1:00, that's when I do these. But maybe it's not. Maybe I just got confused. Oh well. I was trying to block my time better to be able to. I have to edit my Tarantino ranking, so maybe like I finished filming. It was like, oh, I should do my live stream, and maybe I just got confused on my time. Rich reviews. Breaking. They're bringing back Tommy Doyle for Halloween Kills, though they wanted Paul Rudd as he is too busy. Weird. Very weird. Because they retconned all that. Like they threw it out. Like all of that is gone. I mean, and that's not like lightly gone. I mean, they threw out Halloween 2. They threw out Halloween 2, a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. They threw out Halloween H2, a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. They threw all of that stuff out. And they totally redid it. And so kind of being like, hey, let's get this a character that if he wasn't played by Paul Rudd, he's not very interesting. And maybe like I'm not a Halloween aficionado or anything like that, but if you remove the Paul Rudd factor, I just don't know that character is nearly as interesting as any stuff. And if they're not going to bring back Danielle Harris, why would you bring back the Paul Rudd character if you can't get Paul Rudd? And even if you could get Paul Rudd, how does it even make sense to bring it back? So it seems really weird that they're looking to do that. Rich reviews, I feel burnout. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Rich reviews, well, they canceled Designated Survivor again. Would have loved to season 4, but I guess the audience wasn't there. Now, that's disappointing. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't heard that it was canceled, so you're breaking news to me. I imagine it's a pretty expensive show. And Netflix seems to be, they've been announcing they're trying to tighten things up a little bit and kind of remove some of the riskier stuff. But at the same time, I don't, they're, part of their problem is that they become just such a content farm without having the marketing department to go along with it. And so it's very easy for things to exist and nobody really knows about it. And then they just crank out so much new stuff that you just get lost in all the noise of all the content farming, which I get that they need to be a content farm so that they can control their destiny and not rely on licensing other people's stuff. But if they're not, if you're canceling shows because they didn't get enough views in the first month, but you didn't really give it a chance in the first month by marketing it properly. I mean, this is like the revival of a network TV show starring Kiefer Sutherland and having a bunch of other big names actors in there too. That's not small stuff. It's not a show that deserves that kind of, it makes sense that you would market that heavily and give it a window to be seen. No, that's not what they do. They just kind of content farm and crank stuff out on Netflix. Rich reviews. I did see Batman Hush. Cartoon films don't do well on my channel. As for the film, I thought it was fine, although I guess they did deviate from the comics a bit. I haven't read the comics. I don't know. Bear F, have you seen the San Diego Comic-Con Flash trailer or Arrow one? The Flash looks better than seasons. I haven't. I watched the Arrow one. All right, I watched the Arrow one, not the Flash one. I watched the Arrow one, and someone's like, can you react to this? And I watched it, and I was like, what would I react to? It's like a recap of the show. And I'm fried on Arrow. I'm throwing the towel. I'm going to finish watching it, but it's like you guys have screwed yourself. I've never seen a show write themselves into such a horrible corner. They closed out the plot lines of the show itself. All the main plot lines of the show are closed out. And it seems like we're getting 10 more episodes so that it can bridge with the crossover. That's offensive to me. If that's what this is, and that's what they've built it to be, that's what the trailer communicated. How could you do this to a show that I actually cared about? And I haven't watched the Flash one somewhat because I watched the Arrow one and I was like, what is this? Why are you doing this to me? Breaking my heart so bad. So I haven't seen the Flash one. Richard's favorite 80s miniseries. I don't know. I don't even know of any 80s miniseries. I don't have a list of those on my head to be able to even pull from. None come to mind other than The Bourne Identity. So The Bourne Identity, the original translation of The Bourne Identity as a little TV miniseries, mini movie thing. Rich Reviews, would you ever redo the Indiana Jones video that you did early on? So early on, I don't know if you're referring to the one about how to fix Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I wouldn't redo that one. I would do more of those. I want to do more of those. I need to do more of those. There's a lot of things like that. That they take time. They're more kind of editorial type things that I have to spend a bunch of time writing them and figure out a new style of editing to edit them. And so they're tough to just throw into the mix because there is such a grind of doing 2 movie reviews per week, 2 rankings per week, and other stuff. So, and maybe there's 3 reviews in a week, and all kinds of things happen. So pausing to do this big editorial thing that may or may not do well is difficult for me. So I'd like to do a lot more of that stuff. But I don't think I would specifically redo that one unless it became a hit series. If I started doing them and it became something that was like Mondays I fix things, Tuesdays, Saturdays I rank things, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I review things. If it became something like that, then I would probably redo it because it's one that would make sense to update and do a little better. Rich Reviews, thoughts on the I Know What You Did Last Summer series going to Amazon? I've never actually seen any of the movies, so I don't have any thoughts on doing a translation of it because I can't comment on whether I think it lends itself well to a TV series or anything like that. So I don't have any thoughts on that particular thing because I just don't have a backstory with it. Richard's thoughts on a sneak peek look at Jack Ryan Season 2. I haven't seen the sneak peek. I saw, like, literally right before I went live, I checked my Instagram and it said, poster, Jack Ryan Season 2 coming soon. I don't know I didn't see a video. I just saw a poster. I don't know if there is a video sneak peek, if that's what you're referring to. I mean, I'm excited about it. I really enjoyed Season 1. I really enjoyed John Krasinski. And I was actually just thinking, I think just a couple of days ago, I jumped on... maybe even last night, I started watching the first few episodes of The Boys and clicked on Amazon and it showed, Jack Ryan on there. And I went, I wonder when we're going to get Season 2. Came out a year ago, so Season 2 should be reasonably soon, that we should be getting a trailer. And then today happened and they're like, yeah, it's coming soon. So I am excited to see it, but I have not seen anything about it as of yet. Rich Reviews, normally the live stream is at 3 p.m. Eastern Coast. So, I guess I was off by an hour. Whoops, I need to learn to tell time. Rich Reviews, how big a threat is Disney Plus to Netflix? Does Netflix need to partner up with another brand? I would imagine it's a pretty big threat for... the thing that Netflix has right now is that it was here first, and then it has it has the head start on getting original content. But the negative side that they've had from the last few years is that a bunch of people have started their own thing, so they pulled their content from it. And so then one of the big ones they've currently had that makes it like, they've got some cool stuff on here is that they do have a partnership with Disney. And having those movies that came out within the last year that are on Netflix reasonably quick after it happens, that just kind of get on Netflix, and you've got the Netflix originals, and then you see Infinity War, and you see... Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you see Ralph Breaks the Internet, some Pixar movies. That's kind of what can kind of make it work a little bit, that you feel like you've got a lot of old stuff, you've got some original stuff, and then you've got some new things that are actually big blockbusters, not just kind of moderate type things, but big blockbusters that everyone's interested in. That's how you get a big audience to care about it. You take Netflix and you lose Marvel Netflix shows. You lose all the Disney content. And down the road, they've got the Disney and Fox library. And that's one of the big reasons that Disney bought Fox, is everyone assumes that it's about Disney Plus. And you created a streaming service that has the full Disney film archive. That's massive. And then the whole Fox film archive. That's massive. And then original content. That's original content that's Marvel shows, Star Wars shows, and movies that are live action remakes of Disney films. That's huge. And that's A-list level, what you can do for a streaming, what you can do for made-for-TV movies. That's what Disney Plus is offering, the A-list. Whereas, even like Designated Survivor is not really A-list content. It's canceled broadcast television. So, it just seems like that Disney Plus is going to be a huge threat. And their price point is, I think, half of what Netflix is. So I would think that would be very scary for Netflix, that they're aware, like, we're losing a bunch of stuff that's huge for us, and it's all going to this other thing that in and of itself was always going to be big competition. Flash looks like an interesting superhero PG-13 horror series. Yes, I haven't seen the trailer, so I don't know what you're referring to. So I don't know if you're saying that the Flash this season looks like it's going to be a PG-13 horror film, but it sounds kind of interesting. Rich Reviews, have you seen The Boys? I've seen the first 3 episodes of The Boys, and I'm digging it thus far. What surprised me is that my wife was, like, into it, too. Like, we watched the first 2 episodes, and it was, like, 1 in the morning. Like, oh, should we go to bed? She's like, well, I want to see what Carl Urban character is going to do about this. Like, wait, you're, like, really invested. You're not just, like, in the background watching this. You're, like, I care what's happening. So we might finish it tonight if we can get the kids to go to bed early enough. Road to Dawn, what are your thoughts on literally every company making a streaming service? I think it's a nightmare for consumers. I think they ruined the model. It's a model that made sense when there was a little competition. There's a couple of different options. It made sense when it was, you have Netflix kind of doing a film archive type thing, being really good with older films and just giving you a bunch of stuff that you can watch and some new stuff. And then you had Hulu that was offering present TV shows. So for people like me that I've never had cable, I'm never going to have cable, that it created an option where I could have stream new TV shows the day after they debuted. So that was a pairing for me of like archive of movies and some archive of TV shows, new TV shows on Hulu. That's a good pairing that complemented. It was useful. It was competition, but it was also useful for the consumer themselves. And then throw into the mix, like, it made sense to me that HBO would say, we're going to jump into, we're already premium. So you can gain access to our premium archive if you have cable, or if you pay $15 a month, you can get these movies too. That made sense to me. But when you start doing, now CBS doesn't want to work with Hulu, CBS wants their own thing. And Disney doesn't want to work with Netflix, we want to do our own thing. And Paramount, when they start doing that, they kill the model. The model doesn't make sense anymore if none of them are very good. They're all nickel and diming us, like, all right, if you want these movies, pay $10 here and pay $10 here. And they're all over these different streaming services, and that kind of turns into a nightmare to me. It's just not useful anymore. It's not user-friendly. It's not a better model. It's just a new version of the bad cable model. And I wish what they would have done is have 2 or 3 services out there, and with each of them, you can get kind of modules inside of them. So like Netflix Basic is what we all have, but you can pay $5 more to get Disney Plus with it. So Disney Plus is combined with Netflix. So I don't want to have 20 different apps on my PlayStation to be able to watch all these shows in different places. I want them all in one place. So even as of right now, I'm jumping between Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Vudu, little Crackle thrown into the mix. I don't want to be doing that. And then some stuff's only on my Apple TV, and then I got the DC Online. I don't want that. I want like 3 apps, 3 different experiences, but it's not that. So I don't like it at all. They're killing it. They're ruining it. Rich Reviews, thoughts on HBO Max, the streaming arm of Warner Media, doing a continuation series of Gossip Girl, although the fans are clamoring for original cast, which you can't do or they won't watch. Doesn't mean anything to me. I've never watched Gossip Girl, so I don't. Like any of these shows, like if you ask me, hey, what do you think about them bringing 90210 back? I'm not Gilmore, like if you're like shows about teenage girls for teenage girls, Gilmore Girls is the one that I watched. Any of these other Gossip Girls or anything, like Melrose Place or whatever they are, I don't watch any of them. So the answer is I just don't care because I don't have any knowledge of them. They could announce everyone's coming back and they're giving it $1 billion budget, and I wouldn't even read the headline because it's Gossip Girl, so it's like just skip this. Rich Review, seriously, you need to do a trailer reaction to Cats. It's too late now, so I'm not going to do it on my channel, but some of that stuff, I don't like to do a trailer reaction to something I'm not excited about. I don't want a mean-spirited channel that's like, Cats, this is going to suck, so let me watch it to make fun of it. That's just not the tone of my channel, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense to do it. Maybe I'll review it. I do, worst of the year and things like that. So I have occasional things where I have some sting to what I do and a little scratch. So I'm sure I'll go after it then whenever I watch it. But, the idea of doing a trailer reaction just for the sake of being like, this sucks, worst CGI ever, what were they thinking? That I'm just not that channel. Rich Reviews, apparently some people reacting to Cats have made them rethink the harsh reaction to the Sonic trailer. Yeah, it's kind of the fun part of the internet is that studios can get some quick reactions, kind of fix some things. Maybe there's some positive to that. Rich Reviews, thoughts on a possible prequel Rocky series? Stallone says a lot of this crap a lot. He throws a lot of ideas out there. It took 10 years to get Last Blood. And, he was talking about this one that was like he was fighting an alien up in the Arctic or something like that. And then there was the Mexican cartel version, and then it was scrapped, and then it was going to be a TV show, and then it was going to be a reboot, then it was going to be a prequel. And then he was actually working with David Morello, the author of the original First Blood book, to come up with a script, and then they couldn't crack the code, and then they kind of went back to this Mexican cartel deal. He always does this stuff. I think that's somewhat the nature of who he is. He has a lot of ideas, and he's always thinking how to make stuff work. And sometimes I even wonder if he says this stuff just to see what people think. So if he says Rocky prequel and people go, well, that sounds awesome, and people run with it, or if he says it and people are like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like the original Rock, it's the same as Die Hard. Do I want a Die Hard prequel? No, a Die Hard prequel doesn't make any sense. Like it's a movie that the whole concept of the movie is that he's just a cop. He's just a normal cop. He's a good cop, but he's never been a superhero. He's not a super cop. He's just a cop that happens to be in this situation. So he's just as freaked out by it as the people that are hostage are. Rocky is a loser. We're going to make a movie about a loser? Like, watching him like, so he lost a fight, so he becomes a leg breaker. Like, what would the prequel be that would be enjoyable? That would be, like, the whole point of the franchise is kind of this inspirational underdog story, but you can't have the inspirational part. And it's not even really an underdog part if he's just a loser that's not living up to his potentials. It doesn't make any sense to do a prequel to Rocky. So I wonder if he just... what's motivating him to say something like that? Bear F, I just started reading some Marvel comic books. Any suggestions on Marvel comic books? The Ultimate series is probably one that, I'm sure you're an MCU fan, and that's kind of why we probably found my channel. If you want something interesting, just jump into the Ultimates 1 and 2. I hear the third one jumps the shark, goes off the rails. But 1 and 2 are kind of this alternate universe take on, kind of pocket universe take on the Avengers, and that's where the Avengers movies kind of came from, is this alternate take on them. So that's the one that I would, for Marvel, that I would recommend. Rich Reviews, if you haven't seen True Detective Season 3, drop everything you're doing, watch it, considering the main actor has been cast as Blade. If you've seen Michelle Ali in about 20 things in the last 2 years. So it's not like, oh, True Detective, I can finally see this guy in something. He's been in almost everything for the last 2 years. He's already been in Marvel stuff associated with the MCU. But I should probably watch seasons 1 and 2 before I watch season 3. Rich Reviews, will you be watching the anthology 4 Weddings and a Funeral miniseries? I didn't even know that was a thing. Doesn't seem like something I would rush out to watch. The movies about just the right amount of that I'd want to see. And if it doesn't have Hugh Grant in it, the appeal of seeing 4 Weddings and a Funeral kind of goes away. So I seriously doubt that I would check something like that out. Rich Reviews, I recently did a review of a Netflix series, Another Life. Katie Sackcloth, almost, by herself saves a mediocre series. I haven't even heard of it. Kind of going back to what I said before about Netflix, and they don't know how to market their stuff. They just keep cranking stuff out. It's like Katie Sackcloth in a show. That should be something that at least should be on my radar. Nope. They just put out so much content that things that I should care about, I don't even know about. Liam, what are you doing?
Can I watch Back for Jack?
Is your mother sleeping?
No, she's not here.
Where'd she go? Hey, everybody.
She went to go get something.
Sure, go for it.
Yay.
Bear F, I heard rumors of Phineas and Ferb live action movie on Disney Plus. Phineas and Ferb, as well as Lady in the Trammo. I think you're misspelling a lot of these words, so it's making it difficult to know what you're talking about. Lady and the Tramp is happening. I've heard about that one. The other one I have not. I don't know what you're talking about, but Lady and the Tramp I've heard about, as well as Sword in the Stone, where it seems like they're taking some of these older movies that people have heard of, but they're not ones that are likely to do super well, and then they're putting those on Disney Plus, which I don't know how well that'll work. Hey Chloe, what are you doing?
After Liam watched Back for Jack, can I watch Slime Sam? There's a new one.
Okay, tell Liam to go. You're going to switch back and forth. Okay. So one video for each. One. Back and forth. Okay. Road to Dawn, what are your thoughts on the Breaking Bad movie about what happens to Jesse after the show? I'm interested in the sense of like, okay, that could be cool. Very nervous also because some things are better left to the imagination. And is Jesse a lead character in and of himself? I don't know. He worked as just such a different person from Walter White. So I just don't know what that would look like, how it would work. I just can't. I have to see a trailer and a little bit more of the concept of what they're going for. For what I've seen of Better Call Saul, it's worked. It's tough for me to get to know too much when all we know it's like, hey, we're going to do more of this. Well, I loved where you ended, so I don't know if I'm excited about that, but you did a good job before. Rich Reviews, I always wanted that Rambo film where he goes back to Afghanistan to hunt down bin Laden. No, they were never. I don't think they were ever actually going to do that. That just gets offensive at it. Like they've always kind of been borderline. That's the joke that people have said. I don't think that that was one that was ever on the table where Stallone was like, oh yeah, I got a movie and we're going to go hunt down bin Laden. I don't think that ever was actually discussed. It was just more people cracking jokes because they spent a long time talking about the idea of him going to Mexico. And that, for over 10 years, they've been talking about that one. And it seems like it's finally happening. And then he'd been talking for a long time about kind of Rambo becomes a missionary type thing. And so that which became the last film. But I don't think he was ever actually going to hunt bin Laden. Rich Review, still nervous on Zombieland 2 after seeing the trailer? Yeah, I haven't even watched the trailer. I don't watch trailers. If I don't do a reaction, I probably don't watch it until I see it in the theater because I want to see it on the big screen. I think I've heard mostly positive things about it, but once again, you're saying you're nervous about something. What are you actually excited for? That's my question to you every week because you tell me the things you're not excited about, and you list all of these things. You ask questions about things, and you say you're not excited about it, but what are you excited about? Rich Reviews, have you read the original Jaws novel? No, I just finished First Blood, though. I've never read Jaws. Maybe that might be my next one that'll do, but I just finished First Blood 2 or 3 days ago. which is an interesting experience because it's structurally basically the same as the movie First Blood. It's the first Rambo story. Structurally about the same. A lot of the same beats. Totally different tone, message, everything. Vibe as to who you're rooting for, what you want to happen. Totally different. Even though the characters are kind of the same, things happen at the same time. Tonally, totally different. All kind of boiling down to basically kind of only one change. One change makes such a huge difference. Rich reviews there. Bringing back Andy McDowell for 4 Weddings and a Funeral miniseries. Interesting. Interesting. But if we don't have Hugh Grant, what's the point? What is the point without Hugh Grant? Andy, if they find 2014 Gamora in Guardians 3, what do you think the dynamic between her and the other characters will be like? I would guess that that's probably the plot of the film. She's the MacGuffin that they're trying to track down, or they find her at the beginning and that's kind of reconnecting with her. It's tough to say a little bit because she has a different backstory from them, and her introduction to them is different. But in a different sense, it can't be too terribly different from what we had in Guardians of the Galaxy. Because we've already seen Gamora 2014 and how she reacts to Star-Lord and these characters. They're just being introduced with different amounts of backstory to where they're at in kind of their life journey. So Star-Lord's coming into it knowing that they could possibly have something, and she's coming into it like, really? This is the guy that I had in a different world timeline? So I would anticipate it playing not terribly different from what it had before, but it kind of having a little bit of this memory loss vibe. Obviously, memory loss isn't the reason for the difference, but you have one person that had years of memories with someone that doesn't have those memories. Same two people, but one has memories of a relationship that the other doesn't have. That's kind of what I would imagine the dynamic playing into it. It would feel like a memory loss movie of sorts, though, of course, not being a memory loss movie. David, when you do a ranking review, do you rank them by the original scores or just them after the rewatch? I try to... So, what I decided to do for this year is I did a solid rewatch of all the Marvel movies, and then I didn't re-rank them. I don't think I adjusted my rankings after the Endgame one. I think the Endgame one... Well, so I ranked them for Captain Marvel, and then I rewatched even more of them leading up to the Marvel 58 ranking. And I didn't change them going into the Spider-Man rankings. I stayed true to what I did with the Marvel 58. So that's what I did kind of, speaking of that one. But whenever I watch them, rank them again next, I'll rewatch all the movies. And as best as I can, I'll just go from scratch and just try and rank them. It'll be rewatch all of them, and I'll just sit down with the titles and okay, which one is better? Which one do I like more? Which one do I like to rewatch more? That's what I try to do. If with Marvel, I'm re-ranking them so close to each other that it feels like I don't want to arbitrarily just make changes. And at a certain point in time, if you change it 3 times in a year, that you're just making crap up. But if a year passes, you rewatch them, 3 more movies come out that kind of, the way I watch movies, future films, and change what does and doesn't work for me. In which case, a year passes, 3 new movies, things will shift a little bit. So I rewatch and then I re-rank. And sometimes there's changes. I changed my ranking of the Spider-Man actors. And some people are like, why did you change this up? Well, I've grown as a reviewer. I think I'm a little bit more nuanced in what I catch and what matters. And so then I watched and reconsidered it, thought, how would I really do this? And came up with a new list. So it kind of depends. If a year has passed, I just try and go from scratch. If 2 months have passed, I probably use the same one and try and think, how can I share the same information in a different way? So the one after Endgame was 20 minutes long. The one after Spider-Man was intentionally 10 minutes long. I tried to create 2 pieces of content for 2 different audiences. They're obviously kind of the same audience, but someone that wants a 25-minute video about Marvel movies is not the exact same as someone that wants a 10-minute version. So same exact ranking, basically, same opinions. One is kind of free form, me kind of giving a minute-long take, minute and a half. One is a 20-second take on these movies. So that's what I try to do. So they're not the same, but they are the same. I don't know if that's helpful, but how my brain works, what I try to do. Woo! A bunch of questions came in. Road to Dawn. Do you expect Thor to die in Guardians 3? No. I would think that would be disrespectful to kill him off in Guardians 3. Like, I don't think that they'll kill off Thor. If they didn't kill him off in Endgame, I just don't. It doesn't seem like something that they would do, I don't think. David, Thor never dies. He just becomes All-Father. So, there. Well, Odin died. Bear F, if there could be another game like Spider-Man, what other Marvel character would you like to see, or DC? Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of room to. I mean, they're doing it with Avengers. So, we've had limited what we've seen on some of this stuff. Limited on what we've seen on the new Avengers game for next year, but that one seems a little bit like we're probably going to follow that similar type of gameplay. I mean, I think that you could do the Defenders in New York again. You could make it like a shared universe. That you could even have Spider-Man show up for a little bit as a playable character, do a Defenders game in New York City, but you expand the Hell's Kitchen area of it. That's where it's more street level, and you could do very much do what you did with Spider-Man. Maybe not as big of a New York, not full New York. Like I said, Hell's Kitchen, but you can go inside the buildings. New Arkham City type, a little bit more Arkham City where you go in buildings more. And I guess you do that in Spider-Man side. Maybe don't need to expand on some of those things. But it's pretty easy to do a shared universe with those games. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of them where you like a lot of them translate pretty easily to a game like that if they're not like Superman's a difficult character to make a game out of because he's so powerful. So it's tough. Like, what do you do that like feels like a real threat? Same way it's tough to make movies for Superman because he's so powerful. But I mean, a lot of the. I mean, I'd be game for a lot of them. Even the Punisher video game from like 15 years ago, I think is pretty great. I spent a ton of time playing it. And some of these characters kind of Nick Fury shows up inside of it, and Black Cat shows up inside of it. Iron Man actually shows up for a little bit. Daredevil's in it. I think there's just a lot you can do with the characters that aren't flying around cosmic and abilities. You could do with Guardians of the Galaxy, make it a space game. So I'd be a lot of them could. Woo! Questions. Rich reviews. I'm excited for scary movies to tell in the dark. The Farewell, and you'd be. Where'd you burn it at? There you go. So there we have some things that I know that you're excited about. What kind of random list too? Rich reviews. Have you read the Outlander books? No. Any of that. I kind of say this anything that kind of goes like Old English, 18th century England. Like that's not stuff that I gravitate towards, even if it's a time travel type thing. So my wife's watching through the show, but the idea of like reading an Outlander book is like, no, that's like 30 miles away from any level of interest on my part. Even if I were to watch this show, that would not be, the books would not be something I'd be interested in. Rich reviews. Do you watch Masterpiece on PBS? No, I don't. I watch nothing on PBS. I don't watch any broadcast channels or anything. Like, I don't, for most part, whatever I watch is on the channel. Like, there's not too many more things that I watch. Like, I watch This Is Us, a little bit of reality TV, but other than that, like, I talk about what I watch on the channel, so I don't have a bunch of kind of deep secret, like, I also watch this. Like, there's just not many of those at all. Rich reviews. A film that I recently watched and reviewed that I will make on my top 10 list, The Art of Self-Defense. So I've heard about that one. I've only heard positive things about it, but it's not playing at my local theater. That's kind of going across town to have to see it, and that's frustrating. Those smaller ones that I'd like to support, but with where I live, they just don't play at the theaters on my end of town. Rich reviews. Seriously, you should rank the Godzilla films by era. It's too niche. It's just way too niche. There's like Godzilla fans are a thing in and of themselves, And so you like if you're not in that, if that's not your thing, and you're watching 4 Godzilla movies from the 90s from Japan, you just don't have the language. Like I'd be like, what am I watching right now? I don't have the the language, the vocabulary, to discern why one of these is better than the other one. Like that's something you have to know that world to be able to have something meaningful to say that makes any sense. And so coming in as the outsider that's seen 3 Godzilla movies, I'm just not at all the right person to do that. And it's one that, because it's not my niche and it's 30 movies, that's like 60 hours of homework. 60 hours of watching Godzilla movies to do one video. That's a huge gamble of my time that almost certainly would not pay off for me. And it doesn't, like, I do rankings that I want other people to be able to join in. That my audience ideally they've seen these movies so we can talk about it together. How many of my viewers have watched all the Godzilla movies? 10? I mean, maybe it's 100. Maybe it's even 1,000. But it's not 2,000. It's not like 10,000 people. It's a very small percentage of my audience would have watched all of them. I haven't watched all of them. I've watched very few of them. And that's what makes it like things like that where I just go, that's for someone in that niche to do. It's not for me. I should talk about things that a lot of people have watched or digging deep on comic booky stuff. That's the niche of people that I'm lined up with. Rich reviews. Have you ever read The Rebel, The Golden Finch? Are you excited for the film? Haven't read the book. Don't really know anything about the movie, so it's not really on my radar at this point in time. Rich reviews. Do you ever see a time where DVD will become obsolete? Like, if you mean specifically DVDs are obsolete. They're just not, everyone hasn't fully converted to Blu-ray yet. But as technology, DVDs are obsolete. Do I think there will be a time when specifically discs become obsolete? Sure. I think that physical media will always have a place, though. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a way in which, we switch to using cards instead of discs, because these are easier to lose, but they take up less space and they don't get scratched. This is easier to keep safe than a disc that when you pull it out, you get smudges in your fingers on it. So I could see something like a card taking their place, but I think there's always going to be physical media because there's always people that want to own it. They don't want to stream it. They don't want to trust the computer in the cloud. They don't want to have to trust their internet. They want to own it. And the same reason that as much you pay $10 a month, you can listen to all the music you want from almost any artist, but people still buy albums. People still buy vinyl. It's because people want physical media and the nature of listening to a thing rather than streaming. David, Hobbs or Shaw? I don't know. I still have to watch the movie to be able to give you an opinion. I mean, my main opinion on Shaw is that he's a villain, so he's had a little bit of redemption, so I have to see a movie of him just as the hero to change my mind on him. So I guess I got to go with Hobbs. Rich reviews. Do you think we are alone in the universe? Well, assume the question is, do I believe in aliens? I don't have a strong thought on it. The universe is very big. So the chance that there's something out there, there's a lot of universe, that's a big multiplier for possibilities. So there's probably something out there. Are there other intelligent creatures? That seems pretty unlikely. Or if there is, it becomes kind of a meaningless concept because space travel is so extraordinarily difficult because of the distances. So I'm very skeptical of the idea that there are other creatures out there that have mastered intergalactic space travel, and what they do is kidnap hillbillies and things like that. That seems pretty unlikely. Road to Dawn, do you think they'll reboot Harry Potter? I mean, it's almost certain that they'll reboot Harry Potter. Not soon, because they're still doing Fantastic Beasts, but Fantastic Beasts kind of, runs its course over the next few years. Well, I mean, you go a few more years with Fantastic Beasts. They got a few more movies like 4 more movies they got planned. So whether they actually do that or it kind of fizzles out, you get to about 2025, in which case the movie franchise itself is 25 years old. And so at that point, by the time they say, hey, we're actually going to do a big reboot of the whole thing, that's not a terribly unreasonable thing to do, to retell a storyline 30 years later. You can do that. I mean, it's almost 20 years old now. We're just a couple years away from Harry Potter, the movie franchise, being 20 years old. So the fact that once Fantastic Beasts plays out that they would reboot it, it's not unreasonable. Or what they could do is do a soft reboot, kind of the Star Wars model, and you have they come up with this new sort of storyline of Harry's kids. So Harry is some character inside of it, but he's more of a mentor character that shows up to save the day at the end or something like that. And the story's about his kids and the adventures of them that touches on a lot of the same beats, but it's a different story set 30 years, 20 years after the original films. But I think it's printing money, basically, as long as you don't screw it up, which they've kind of screwed it up the last 2 things they've done. David, saw you comment on the Andy Signore post. Thoughts on his situation? Yeah, so, if you don't know what he's talking about, Andy Signore is the guy that created Honest Trailers 2 years ago. He was hashtag MeToo'd, and basically one girl came out and kind of accused him of sexual assault, and then 12 more girls came forward saying he was inappropriate with me. Here's the tweets, here's the text, here's what he sent to me. And in light of the sexual assault allegations, the other ones look really creepy and bad. This past week, and then and he disappeared for a year, and then about a year ago he resurfaced with a new channel, and he basically said, I cheated on my wife, I was inappropriate with fans, I did not sexually assault anyone, anything that happened was consensual, and I was very awkward with fans, but there was nothing like malicious or predatory in what I was trying to do. I was just a guy that was hoping to hook up with chicks. And he said that, but he didn't elaborate. And then this past week, about 5 days ago, he posted a video saying, I couldn't share this legally until now. Now that my lawsuit has been settled with my former employer, because he got, basically, his career was just tanked. This is the guy that created Honest Trailer, Screen Junkies. Channel has like 6 million subscribers, and then he's burned, like his career's destroyed, and reputation destroyed. He posted a video 5 days ago, and he says, I couldn't share this until now, but it's been cleared. The lawsuit's settled, and I've run this by my family and my lawyer, so I can share all of this. And this is a series of Google-verified documents, tweets, the actual interaction with me and this person that accused me of sexual assault. And he does a 15-minute argument basically showing you the emails, the tweets, basically blatantly contradicting what the girl claimed in her accusation against him. And her accusation was on Twitter. So she posted a series of tweets accusing him of a bunch of things, saying this happened. And then he shows an email, it says the opposite. And then he shows an email, a text from 2 days later saying, this is how she responded 2 days after that happened. And she's asking to come back over to my hotel to hook up again. So what's my take on all of it? Clearly he's a sleazeball. Cheated on his wife. Trying to hook up with fans. So she responded back to the emails basically saying, when I came forward 2 years ago, I knew that these emails and texts could come forward, but I did the right thing with my truth. And so I needed to share my story, and I don't regret that. I'm moving forward. Which to me is a totally inadequate response, because what she said in that message that she put on Twitter was all his evidence is real. That's all true, and I came forward knowing that he could come forward with that. But the emails, the emails and texts contradict her statements that she made about him. Like she lied. They're not they're not different interpretations of an event. It's this does not line up with what's in an email, and you just confirmed the email is real. Like you really sent that email, you really sent that text. So there's kind of and then no one in California has really commented on it. None of the people that knew him, that condemned him, everyone threw him under the bus as a rapist. And then no one's kind of coming forward to be like, well, here's, like, I understand the evidence looks bad, but here's the other side to it. And it's a very confusing situation because on the one hand, it's not like he's innocent. It's not like he's the good guy, just a victim, all this stuff. No, like he was behaving in a very suspicious, shady fashion. And this is, I come from conservative Christian circles, and like my policy when I was a pastor, and really, I mean, policy just as an adult has been like, I don't have private meetings with women one-on-one. I didn't go to have lunch with women. Like in the whole time I was a pastor, I can count on my hand the number of times I got together with just a single female. And normally it wasn't intentional when it happened. I didn't ride in cars with girls that aren't my wife or a family member or something like that. I just don't do that. And it comes down to we live in a culture where false accusations can destroy you. And it's both like I don't want to set myself up for having an affair. My dad cheated on my mother and it screwed me up, and I don't want to do that. But it's also just as much a matter of protecting appearances. And so Mike Pence has been condemned for having a rule like that he doesn't meet with women alone. He just doesn't do that. It only does in groups. So people condemn him as misogynistic and a way that he's holding back women. I hear that and I go, that's a rule that I've had my whole life. And there's a debate to be had as to whether if you're in government, you can do things like that. That's a fair discussion. But him as an individual, like attacking him up personally for that, I think is insane because of stories like this. If Andy Signor had followed the Mike Pence rule, none of this would have happened. So it looks, the evidence as of right now and the statements made, it looks like April lied and Andy's a slimeball. And I don't understand why Hollywood won't comment on it. I don't understand why they won't chime in to say, I jumped to a conclusion and I really need to evaluate things. Or I understand why people see of Andy's video and see a compelling argument for why April lied. You weren't there at the building. You weren't there at this meeting. You didn't see the way he talked to fans for that last year there or something like that. They're not saying that. What they're saying is, well, power structures, and he was a person of power, and she was a fan. Therefore, like, okay, that's not very compelling to me. I get what you're saying. There's a side to that like that's why it was inappropriate. But when you're telling me that because he was popular, he can't flirt with a girl, that doesn't sound like such an unnatural. That's a phony thing. You're making a rule that's not organic to the human experience. You're trying to stop predators, but you're creating something that's not realistic. Because Hollywood actors, 30-year-olds, 40-year-old, 50-year-old men are constantly dating 20-year-old models. Leonardo DiCaprio is constantly dating people, and he's attractive. Therefore, it's like, oh yeah, rich Hollywood guy, it's cool, he's getting all these chicks. There's a power gap between Leo and every girl he's ever dated because he's been Leo DiCaprio for 20 years now. There's always this power gap. But Andy Signor, suddenly he's a creepy guy, and it seems like the reason that he's the creep predator guy is because he's overweight and he's not a super handsome guy. That's unsettling. That's if you're handsome and you're a rock star or you're an actor and you're hooking up with 20-year-olds. Oh, that's awesome. Isn't it cool to be a rock star and a movie star? And if you're the very popular creator of Screen Junkies, Honest Trailers, you're a predator. That's unsettling to me. Anyway, I've debated how much I want to say on this on the internet for a number of reasons. This is a little bit more contained. If this got out there, if you guys for some reason shared my take on this with the world or anything, it wouldn't. I stand by what I said. I don't think I'm saying anything divisive. I think it's common sense take on it, but. Anyway, that's an overly long answer, so hopefully you guys know what I'm not just rambling on about something no one cares about. David, DVDs will never be obsolete. People want physical copies. They want physical copies. DVDs themselves are an obsolete because they're standard definition and we're in an HD realm. So specifically DVDs, I think, are obsolete. Rich reviews. For me, I would watch and review more documentaries, though sometimes they show one in my theaters, show twice a day, and opportune times that leave the theater. Chat reviews. What is your once a month rewatch movie? I don't have any right now. I'm so sorry that I'm itching my nose so much. I went to the gym. I got hopped up on my stimulant stuff, and it makes my nose itch, especially when I talk for a long time. And I did my whole Tarantino ranking right before I did this stream. So my nose is killing me. I better. Well, actually, we're over an hour, so I need to close out for that reason too. But because of my channel, and because I'm the ranking guy, I don't have any movies that I rewatch every month. I just stopped doing that entirely. I just don't have room for it. I mean, you think the first, from December of last year until the release of Endgame, I had to watch 58 movies just to do this one little video project. And then right after that, you had John Wick, and then you had the Disney live action movies, and then you had all the Pixar movies, and then you had all the Illumination movies, and then you had the Shaft movies. I didn't do a video out of that, but I did watch the Shaft movies, and then Men in Black. Like that's what my life has been like since last December. Right now, I'm enjoying a little bit more like, hey, I can just sit back and watch stuff. So I've rewatched the Terminator movies, even knowing I'm going to rewatch them again in a month or two to do a ranking when the new one comes out. And I rewatched Total Recall just because I can. But there's like a refreshing thing that I could just watch movies. I haven't done that in months. I've been months and months. And I'm not saying that to complain. I hope it doesn't sound as mechanical. I mean, it's incredibly mechanical, I guess. So it is that. I just don't mind the mechanical nature of it yet. So I don't have one. There's a lot of things that I like to put on the back. Like I like to put on like Van Damme, Seagal movies in the background, Stallone movies in the background, Schwarzenegger. The recurring theme here of action stars from the late 80s, early 90s. Superman the movie, the Dark Knight trilogy. Those are ones that I used to do. But I just don't do that anymore. Shutter Reviews. If Nightwing got a movie, would you want Batman to play a role similar to that of Iron Man in Homecoming? Yeah. I mean, I would want Batman probably even to play a little bit more of a role. I mean, it would be a different type of role because obviously the character dynamics are different, but so that's stating the obvious. And you didn't imply the opposite, but yeah. The short answer is yes. That's what I would want. It would be weird if you did a Nightwing movie that Batman wasn't in it. And you wouldn't want Batman to overwhelm it. So maybe that is the right example. Maybe that is probably a good example of the more dominant character in this universe. In the MCU, Iron Man is the dominant character and fits in there well. But I'd want to see a little bit more action. Tony Stark had the boat sequence in Homecoming. I'd want like more of a throwdown with Batman and kind of joining in the mix. Rich Reviews. Here's an idea. Hogwarts, the next generation. Exactly. It would not surprise me at all if after Fantastic Beasts, that's what we got. David, when will Endgame's worldwide total be broken, assuming no Avatar re-release? 10 years from now. It'll be 10 years from now. If you just can't even look at it, 2019, Endgame. 2009, Avatar. Titanic, 1997. There's just kind of every 10 years or so, there's just some sort of event thing that's big enough. And whether that's the weird James Cameron thing that just happens to work for some reason or a franchise. But it's about every 10 years it seems that we're like smashing through things. And that might change just because there's just so much escalation of big franchise stuff. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Road to Dawn, how do you think they could do a Creed 3? I don't have an idea for a Creed 3. I've thought about it a bit. But, you just have a problem of at a certain point in time, the number of stories that you can do with a heavyweight champion is limited. And Rocky's played him out already. So then you're like, what can we do that feels like a refresh? And we've already made him the top guy. We've already had him lose. We've already had him do kind of he loses, but it's the victorious. There's only so many of these plot lines you can do, so I don't know. Like the people are, they should get Clubber Lang. Well, it's not like the idea that Drago's interesting is because of Rocky IV and the ties to Creed. That's why that's powerful. Just bringing back Mr. T in a mohawk, his son with a mohawk, like it's not at all the same thing. And you're like admitting, we don't have any new ideas. We're just rehashing this stuff. So I don't know what you do. I don't know where you take that one. I don't know if there is a future there with the franchise. Or if they need to take 4 years off, 5 years off, wait till he's late 30s, and you get him pushing 40, and you do kind of one last hurrah. You close out the trilogy where he is kind of washed up maybe a little bit. He was the champion. He was respected. He made a name for himself. And then he comes back as a 40-year-old, like, can I do it one more time? Maybe you could do something like that. But, that stuff's even been touched on in Rocky already. But, I think you need to wait. You can't just have the guy, he's in his prime. Let's make him an underdog somehow. And then he comes back. I think you got to give it some time to make him not that guy anymore. All right, looks like we're done. We're over an hour. I got to finish this Tarantino ranking. Talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for not asking me about Captain Marvel's hair. I do appreciate